This is Lagos, Nigeria, the smallest state in the country, but possibly the most important city on the African continent. Every single day, 2,000 new people arrive here. By the end of the century, Lagos is projected to become the most populous on the planet. 88 million people, that's more than the entire population of Germany, squeezed into one city. But here is the part that made me stop. Despite the traffic, despite the power cuts, despite being ranked one of the least livable cities on the earth, Lagos already generates $260 billion in economic activity every year. That's larger than Ethiopia, Kenya, or Angola. And yet, outside Africa, almost nobody is paying attention. So when Lagos announced a plan to become $1 trillion economy by 2052, I will admit I was a bit skeptical. That will make this single city richer than Sweden or Belgium, from a place that struggles to keep lights on. So I started digging. How does a city that battles electricity, flooding, and traffic congestion plan to become Africa's richest economy? And then I found something that surprised me. In 2025, while part of Lagos were literally battling rising water levels, the city was ranked the fastest growing tech ecosystem on the earth. 1,100% growth since 2017. Faster than Silicon Valley, faster than London, faster than Beijing. The contradiction is what put me in, because maybe, just maybe, there is something happening here that the rest of the world hasn't noticed yet. I went out to find out. October 2022, Lagos, Nigeria. At the Engbeti Economy Summit, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu unveils a 30-year development plan, the most ambitious economic roadmap any African city has ever released.
That indeed, Lagos is about the audacity of hope. It's about ensuring that each time you fall, you must get up again.
The target inside that plan are staggering. $1 trillion GDP, $20,000 per capita income by 2052. So I wanted to see if the numbers actually held up. Right now, the average Lagosian earns about $2,174 a year. The target is $20,000. That is not a small improvement. That is nearly 10 times the current income. When this was announced, a lot of people laughed. They said it was fantasy, politics, another promise that would evaporate after the next election. But I wanted to know, is this actually possible? To answer that, I spoke to Mr. Ibe Muyiwa, an economist from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. So, Mr. Muyiwa, do you think Lagos will be able to pull this off?
It's possible. With what Lagos has on ground is possible, is achievable. However, things cannot just be playing below the earth. But before I talk about that, let me mention that there are some countries that we have seen that are able to achieve this. For example, we have China. China was able to achieve this within the space of 20 years. Okay? We were able to achieve. We have Dubai. Dubai literally grew from nothing to global hub within 40 years. And based on what we have and going on in Lagos, for example, Dangote Refinery and the Lekki and all of that. So Lagos will be able to achieve this.
Lagos has historically grown at 5.7% a year. To reach $1 trillion by 2052, you only need about 4.7%. That's actually below historical average. The per capita target of 20,000 per person is harder. That requires nearly 7% sustained growth for 30 years. That's ambitious, but it's not impossible. So the headline number checks out, and that surprised me because this isn't some fantasy dreamed up by politicians. The math actually works. But getting there, that's where the real story begins. Because between Lagos and that $1 trillion finish line are obstacles that will break most cities. Traffic that costs $4 billion a year, a power grid that barely functions, a brain drain that's emptying the country of its best talent. So I kept digging. How does Lagos plan to close that gap? And that's when I discovered something remarkable. Lagos is not talking its way to $1 trillion. It is building its way there. And the scale of what I found honestly blew my mind. So let me show you the bets Lagos is making, because when you see them together, you start to understand why some people believe this city might actually pull this off. A single road stretching 700 kilometers along Atlantic coast, the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. When it's finished, this road will connect 9 Nigerian states into one continuous economic corridor. Now, I've seen enough African infrastructure projects that die on paper, so I checked. Construction on the first section has already begun from Victoria Island to Eleko Junction. That section opened in late 2025, and this is the part that got my attention. Nearly $2 billion in international financing is already secured for the next phases. This isn't a rendering. This is real money already committed. If the full highway is completed by 2032, projections suggest it could add $45 billion to Nigeria's GDP within 5 years. This is not a road, this is an economic spine. But infrastructure at this scale only works if the people can actually move. And for decades, Lagos failed at that, which is why what happens next caught everyone, including me, off guard. For decades, African infrastructure projects were famous for one thing: never getting finished. Announcements without action, groundbreakings with no completions. Lagos broke that pattern. The Blue Line opened in September 2023, 13 kilometers from Marina to Mile 2. Within 15 months, 2.3 million passengers had already used it. Then came the Red Line in October 2024, 27 kilometers connecting Agbado to Oyingbo. And now construction is starting on Green Line, 68 kilometers straight to Lekki Free Trade Zone. $3 billion, 500,000 passengers per year. This is Lagos proving to itself and to the world that it can deliver. And that proof matters more than trains themselves, because when investors see trains actually running, not rendering, not promises, something shifts. Belief becomes an economic asset, and Lagos is building belief. But the biggest bet isn't a road or a train. It's this: the Dangote Refinery. $20 billion, the largest private investment in Nigerian history, the largest single train refinery on earth. Now, I was skeptical of this one too. Nigeria has a long history of refinery projects that never worked. So I looked at the result. One man, Aliko Dangote, Africa's richest man, made a calculation that sounded obvious, but nobody else acted on. Nigeria should not be importing fuel it can refine itself. For decades, Africa's largest oil producers spent billions importing petrol. Fuel shortages became normal, long queues became routine. In September 2024, the refinery started producing petrol. Within months, the queues disappeared. Today, it's operating at 85% capacity, and Dangote wants to double it to 1.4 million barrels per day. If that happens, this becomes the largest refinery on the planet. The estimated impact is extraordinary. $15 billion added to GDP every year, 570,000 jobs, $12 billion saved in foreign exchange annually. One project, one decision, national transformation. This is what happens when ambition meets execution. And then there is the most audacious bet of all, Eco Atlantic, a brand new city rising from land reclaimed from the ocean. That's about 1,400 football pitches protected by seawall, stretching nearly 7 kilometers. This is Lagos literally pushing the Atlantic Ocean back. Now, I have seen land reclamation projects before. Most of them are vanity projects for the wealthy. So I looked for a signal, something that will tell me whether serious people are taking this seriously. And I found it. The United States government is building its largest diplomatic facility anywhere in the world right here. $537 million invested there. Apart from United States, over 30 projects are currently ongoing on Eco Atlantic. Countries don't make bets like that by accident. They do it when they believe a city future matters. 65% of the land has already been reclaimed. Around Eco Atlantic, the Lekki Free Trade Zone is filling up. $8 billion in investment, Kellogg's, Colgate, Stanbic IBTC, all of them setting up operations. Lekki deep seaport, Africa's deepest seaport, 16.5 meters already operational, containers are already flowing, and layered on top of all of this is something even harder to see, but maybe the most exciting part. A tech ecosystem growing faster than anywhere else on earth. 5 fintech unicorns, Flutterwave, OPay, InterSwitch, MoneyPoint, Paystack, $6 billion in venture capital, a startup economy worth $9 billion. This is a city building its own future from ground up. When you step back and look at the highways, the trains, the refinery, the new city, the port, the tech boom, one thing becomes clear: Lagos is not guessing. It's becoming a calculated bet. And the scale of that bet is unlike anything I've ever seen anywhere else. But I needed to be honest to myself because the other side of the equation still exists, and it's where this story gets complicated. The average Lagosian spends 2 to 4 hours every single day sitting still, not working, not with family, just waiting. About 4 trillion naira every year, roughly around $4 billion lost to traffic alone. And it doesn't stop there. At the Papa Port, trucks wait 10 to 15 days just to get inside. Ships sit offshore for weeks. The World Bank estimates Nigerian losses 90 billion every year to port congestion. Before Lagos can make money, it's bleeding it. These are the real costs, and they are massive. Then there's electricity. Nigeria generates about 11,000 megawatts of power. It needs closer to 40,000 megawatts. Businesses do what they have always done. They generate their own power. Nearly half of electricity used in Nigeria comes from private generators. Every factory, every office, every shop running a parallel grid. The cost is enormous, around $29 billion a year in fuel and lost productivity. This is not an inconvenience, it's a tax on every single business trying to operate in Lagos. Building $1 trillion economy on generators is hard. In 2019, about 1/3 of Nigerians said they wanted to leave the country. By 2021, the number jumped to nearly 3/4. In a single year, the UK issued 78,000 work visas to Nigerians. Nigeria now has 1 doctor for every 5,000 people. In developed countries, it's 1 for 250. Brain drain costs Nigeria an estimated $10 billion every year. The real cost isn't money, it's the people who could have built the future, choosing to build it somewhere else. In early 2023, $1 was worth about 460 naira. By late 2024, it crossed to 1,500. That collapse didn't just hurt households, it rewrote Nigeria's entire economic ranking. In 2019, Nigeria was Africa's largest economy, $668 billion. By 2024, it has fallen to the 4th place, not because the production disappeared, but because the currency did. Any dollar-based target now has a problem. The finish line keeps moving, but here's what I realized. Lagos isn't targeting next year or even 2030. It's targeting 2052. That's 27 years for the currency to stabilize, for the reforms to take hold, for the investment to compound. The volatility is real, but so is the runaway. So this is the tension at the heart of Lagos story. The city is racing toward $1 trillion goal, while traffic drains billions, power remains fragile, talent keeps leaving, and the currency keeps shifting beneath its feet. But here is what separates Lagos from other cities that have made big promises. Lagos is actually doing something about it, which raises the real question: is it enough? But there's one more thing I needed to understand. Lagos is not doing this in isolation. It's running against continent. Cairo is building a brand new capital from scratch, $58 billion, Africa's tallest building already standing at nearly 400 meters. Johannesburg remains Africa's financial heavyweight, more millionaires than any other city on the continent. Home to its largest stock exchange, Nairobi has become the continent's startup gateway. Nearly 1/3 of all African venture capitals flows through Kenya. These cities are not standing still, but Lagos is playing a different game because Lagos has something no other African city has: scale. Nigeria is approaching 240 million people, the largest population on the continent, and Lagos sits at the center of it. The city produces nearly 1/5 of Nigeria's entire GDP, more than half of its non-oil economy. In many ways, Lagos is not just a city, it is a Nigerian economy. If Nigeria ever becomes a true economic powerhouse, I increasingly believe it will. This is where it happens. This is the launch pad. $1 trillion economy by 2052 is not a fantasy, and in reality, the progress is visible. Yes, there are problems. The question has been asked, the bet has been placed, and the clock is already running. So if you like content like this, please like and subscribe, and let me know, do you think Lagos can pull this off? Let me know in the comment section.